Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we'll be exploring the Phantom origin. Much before heroes like Superman zoomed into the world of comics, there lived and breathed several superheroes who also graced the newspaper comics. One of the earliest was known as the Phantom, but he also went by names like the Ghost Who Walks and the Man Who Never Dies. The creator of the Phantom, Falk, got the inspiration for his purple superhero from various historical and mythological legends, like that of Zorro, Tarzan, King Arthur, and Robin Hood, to name a few. He was a pioneer in the world of superheroes, with features like white eyes behind his mask, or wearing underpants over his pants. Later, several superheroes, namely the Green Lantern and the Batman, would also have white eyes without pupils, and we all know how Superman likes to wear his underpants. Phantom made his first appearance in the year 1936, but later, several well-known comics like Marvel and DC Comics also published comics based entirely on him, as well as TV shows that also depicted him. In 1996, Zane starred in a live-action adaptation called The Phantom. Phantom is a character whose backstory, powers, and personality seem to be the inspiration behind many famous superheroes, and definitely deserve a film that justifies his stature. Before we go into today's analysis, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small step for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks! Now, on with the video. Number 1. Powers, abilities, and weapons. The Phantom is not a guy with superhuman powers or abilities. He's just an ordinary guy who fights crime and criminals with his wits and fists. However, he excels in several forms of martial arts. He carries a pair of .45 caliber pistols and is a master of many languages. And from the frame of reference of an ordinary man, he is in the best possible shape with great strength, speed, and stamina. The Phantom dresses in a purple skin-tight outfit, but the earlier editions were mostly in black and white, or even blue, because printing purple color was expensive and unavailable back then. There have been 22 Phantoms until now, which gives us the impression that he's a man who never dies. However, there have been female Phantoms as well.
You've got something that belongs to me.
Number 2. The Phantom started as a daily newspaper strip. In the famous story, The Sin Brotherhood, the Phantom started his obliteration of piracy, greed, cruelty, and injustice in a daily strip on February the 17th, 1936. Falk, the creator of Mandrake the Magician, not only wrote the story, but also penciled the initial issues. However, the first prominent artist to draw the Man Who Cannot Die was Ray Moore. On May 28, 1939, the Phantom jumped to the Sunday strips. After Ray Moore went on to serve in the Second World War, his assistant, Wilson McCoy, took the reins. This was the period when the Phantom saw the peak of his fame and appeared in thousands of newspapers throughout the world. After McCoy died in 1961, artists Carmine Infantino and Bill Ligante briefly served as McCoy's successors, and would later go on to draw the Phantom stories for the comics. However, a more prominent artist was needed, and Cy Berry took up that role. It was Berry and Falk who gave the Phantom his modern look. Falk continued writing the comics until his death in 1999. Interestingly enough, the last two Sunday strips, named Terror at the Opera and The Kidnappers, were finished by Lee's wife, Elizabeth Falk. Later, respected comic artists Graham Nolan and Paul Ryan took over his reins.
What the hell is that?
Shoot him!
Number 3. The Ghost Who Walks enters the world of comics. As many of you would know, the Phantom has had various versions in different parts of the world, like the United States, the Scandinavian countries, Australia, and even India. In the United States, the Phantom has graced several comics with his presence. Through the 40s, Ace Comics published several strips into comics. After Ace Comics, other publications like Gold Key Comics, King Comics, and Charlton Comics published Phantom comics until 1977. After this point, it was time for the big guns of the comic world, like DC Comics, to take up the harness. They published the Phantom comics from 1988 to 1990. DC changed the way the Phantom operated, and made him indulge in real-life problems like modern piracy, hunger, pollution, and even racism. The DC comics garnered critical and public acclaim, but got cancelled owing to certain licensing issues. Interestingly, Marvel too had published a 4-issue comic in 1987, and then in 1994 they published a miniseries where Phantom was portrayed as a more futuristic and tech-savvy hero. Marvel also published a comic series based on the TV series Phantom 2040. Later, Moonstone started publishing Phantom comics, a venture that would take them to great heights. Apart from the Scandinavian countries, Phantom was fairly popular in countries like Australia and India. In India, Phantom has had a long and successful publishing history. It initially appeared in the early 1940s, close to the time when Phantom got published around the world. Publications like the Illustrated Weekly of India and Indrajal Comics published the comics in several Indian languages, including English. The Indian comics were basically reprints of Lee Falk's Sunday and daily strips.
Devil, somebody needs us.
Number 4. The Phantom's origin. Phantom's story started as a young sailor named Christopher Walker. However, he has also been called Christopher Standish in specific versions. Born in Portsmouth in 1516, his old man belonged amidst the sea since childhood and was one of the cabin boys on Columbus's ship named the Santa Maria that sailed to America in search of India. At the age of 10, Christopher got inducted into his father's ship as a shipboy. When he was just 20, he joined his father on the latter's last voyage. The ship got attacked by pirates, and the old man lost his life. The young Christopher was the sole survivor of the gruesome attack and was washed up on the beaches of Bengala, where the Bandar tribe soon found him. Bandar in Hindi means monkey, a fairly derogatory term there. Nevertheless, the Bandar tribe's pygmy people nursed him back to health. It was here that he took the oath of the skull. I swear to devote my time to the destruction of piracy, greed, cruelty, and injustice in all their forms. My sons and their sons shall follow me. They showed him to a cave that resembled a human skull, and this skull cave would later become his home. The jungles of Bengala, fictional African country, was plagued with rumors and myths of the ghost who walks, or the man who cannot die. Bengala was called so in the 1996 film, yet until the 1960s, it was portrayed as a country near India instead of Africa. Phantom operates from Bengala and set up his base of operations in a part of the jungle known as the Deep Woods. The term Bengala comes from people who speak the language of Bengali, which is prevalent in eastern India and Bangladesh. Anyway, the people of Bengala feel that the Phantom is an indestructible and immortal force that fights against any form of injustice and for the innocent, oppressed, and downtrodden people. Because the Phantom has existed for many generations, people started to believe that he was in fact immortal. However, the Phantom is simply a legacy people took up when their predecessor retired. The second Phantom married the granddaughter of Christopher Columbus. Phantoms have been known to be predominantly men, but the 17th Phantom, named Julie Walker, was a female. She had taken up her twin brother's mantle after he was left injured. He doesn't essentially have any superhuman strengths or powers, like we've already mentioned, but relies entirely on his brains, bronze, gunmanship, etc. to fight offenses and offenders. The current and 21st century Phantom married his longtime partner, Diana Palmer. He and Diana had a boy named Christopher Walker Palmer, or Kit, and a daughter named Heloise Walker Palmer. Number 5. The Phantom, 1943 movie serial. The Phantom serial starred Tom Tyler as the titular role and took several liberties when it came to staying grounded in the lore set by the comics. But beyond creative reasons, they did so because of limited budgets, which kept the serial from being as ambitious and exotic as the comic strip. Gene Bates played Phantom's love interest. As far as the plot is concerned, Professor Davidson planned an expedition to look for the lost city of Zoloz. However, the map locating the city is divided into 7 parts, 3 of which the professor already has in his possession. However, one Dr. Bremer also intends to find the city for his nefarious agendas. He kills the Phantom, but his son, Jeffrey Prescott, takes over his father's mantle. Together, Bremer and the Phantom race against time to find the lost city of Zoloz. In the serial, the Phantom's name was Jeffrey Prescott instead of Kit Walker. But this was not much of a change because the name Kit Walker hadn't been used yet in the comic strips when the serial came out. The serial, known as The Adventures of Captain Africa, was actually a sequel to The Phantom, but due to licensing issues, Columbia Pictures had to rename the entire serial. Number 6. The Phantom, 1996 film. The story began in the 16th century when a young boy saw his father getting brutally murdered by Kabai Singh, the leader of the Singh Brotherhood. The men had attacked their ship, but the young boy jumped into the water to save his life and ended up on the shores of Bengala. A few tribesmen found him and took him under their care. After his recovery, the young boy took the Oath of the Skull and became the Masked Avenger. The mantle of the Phantom had passed on for 4 centuries, and in 1938, Kit Walker became the latest Phantom. He found Quill leading a group of mercenaries who were searching for the skulls of Tuganda, which would grant the possessor immense powers. Quill's men had abducted a native boy to serve as their guide, but the Phantom saved him and also subdued the mercenaries. Later, it is revealed that Quill was a member of the Singh Brotherhood, the same clan that had slain his father. Quill escaped from the jungles after retrieving the skulls and came to the United States. In New York, Kit's ex-girlfriend, named Diana Palmer, and her uncle Dave Palmer investigate an evil businessman named Xander Drax, who also deals with criminals. However, Diana gets abducted and is taken to a waterfront base in the jungles of Bengala. The Phantom manages to rescue her from her captors. Yet, Drax and Kabai Singh, the direct descendants of the man who had killed the first Phantom's father, forge an alliance, and Kit Walker must cross rivers and move mountains to stop them from having their way. The film combines Lee Falk's stories titled The Singh Brotherhood and The Sky Band. Despite a great performance by Billy Zane, the film didn't perform well at the box office.
What are you?
The ghost who walks.
Number 7. Phantom 2040. In the year 2040, due to the resource wars of the early 21st century and several natural disasters, Earth's already fragile ecosystem is degraded further, and the world started to resemble a post-apocalyptic one. New York City is now called Metropia and is the most powerful and largest of the city-states. The uber-powerful robotics corporation, called Maximum Inc., has turned Metropia into a steely urban center with huge skyscrapers that are intertwined with tube trains. While the affluent and privileged live in expensive buildings, the poor lived outside in the open, under the shadows of such skyscrapers. They were forced to scavenge discarded food items and goods of the rich people of the forlorn city-states. This has caused large-scale unemployment and only adds to the miseries of the poor. Maximum tries to create an outlook that it wants a progressive future for the residents of Metropia. In reality, it has a nefarious plan bringing about the Maximum era, according to which only the rich would survive in the fortress of Cyberville, while the poor would be left to die. Furthermore, according to Maximum era, Maximum's robotic armies would take over Metropia. The only hope for a sustainable future and survival of humanity is the vast jungles of mutated vegetation known as the Ghost Jungle. But even the jungles will be rendered useless if not for Kit Walker, the Phantom, a college student who's been chosen by fate to take charge of the situation and save Metropia from its destined end. Marvel Comics adapted the Phantom from this TV series in a 4-series limited edition. Phantom was also part of the 1986 TV series Defenders of the Earth, which featured Mandrake the Magician and Flash Gordon. To know more about these iconic pulp superheroes, you can check out our video titled 10 Forgotten Pulp Magazine Superheroes of the Golden Age. You can find the link in the description below. Many scholars who used to be fans of the Phantom comics believe that the superhero has racial overtones because of his dominance of sorts over people of color. For example, the Pygmy tribe that saved the first Phantom was named the Bandar tribe, which literally means the tribe of monkeys. Apart from this, Lee Falk's constant search only took him to places like India and Africa, which used to be colonies of the white people. Although these statements might sound harsh, they're not entirely without merit. At the same time, we also have to realize that these comics were written back in the 1930s, when the social structure and socially accepted norms were completely different from what they are today, especially when it came to racial tolerance. Therefore, we sincerely believe that the Phantom should be given a pass, or, as Alexander Pope once said, to err is human, to forgive divine. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. For marvelous videos, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, and be safe.